and welcome to the Author Talk series. I'm your host, Cavanah, and we're on episode 4. The theme of today's episode is the importance of a good cover and a great editor. I'm going to start off with saying that I'm a self-published author, as almost all of you know. So when I first started self-publishing, I thought that I could edit my own books and create my own cover. And maybe the cover, if you're talented enough, you can do, but you need an editor. And that was something that was really hard for me to accept because editors are very expensive. I'd say the cheapest editor that you're going to find nowadays, a good editor, mind you, I'd say $500 a month. And sadly, that's just what you have to do. That's the type of money that you have to shell out. I personally ended up saving lots of money because I'm a bartender, so my tips go towards paying for my editor, who is also one of my very dear friends. So I'm very fortunate for that. But no matter how confident we are as writers, we will never ever be able to pick out all the flaws of our own works. And that's because I strongly believe that writing and editing require two completely different types of approaches, and mixing the two of them together just creates a mess. One of my favorite quotes that I like to go off of is, write like you're in love and edit like it's your job. So the reason why a writer should never have to edit their own work is because writing is supposed to be a stream. You know, it's supposed to be a flow. The words just come out, the visions come out, and you write them down. And you don't want to stop your workflow by trying to edit as you go, because editing is the complete opposite of writing. It's meticulous. It's picking apart every single one of your words and tearing apart those sentences and reimagining all of the different ways that you can say what you're trying to get across. And that's like putting a roadblock right in the middle of a highway and stopping all of the traffic, all of the flow that's coming out of your brain. When I first released the Hypernova series Book 1, Mystery of Planet Creyenia, I published it on Kindle, having edited it myself and having created my own cover. And the response was not good. And even though I had put forth all of this work, none of it was coming to fruition because I was unable to see all of my own flaws in my own writing. You know, you need fresh perspectives. You need people to give you feedback on your books before they're even published. Because you're so in love with your own story, and you as the creative individual, you as the author, you're so focused on the entirety of the story that you are bound to miss all of the little intricate details. And I'm not just talking about spelling mistakes. You know, spelling mistakes are easy, like, oh, I edited my own book. I just scrolled through it, found all the red lines, and switched it. That's not what I'm talking about. An editor is the person who rearranges the sentences, who tells you when something doesn't flow correctly, when there's a flaw in the story that you would never notice because this story lives in your brain, but it's fresh to them, every single word, every single sentence. So an editor is vitally important, and you have to be willing to shell out the money to have an editor if you want to be a professional self-published author. If you're just doing it for fun, cool, good for you. But don't complain about people saying like, I found a spelling mistake, or et cetera, or our readers after your book is out pointing out flaws and such, because that's you who didn't shell out the money to get the editor, to get a professional editor. And it's tough. It's a really, really hard thing to accept because I myself didn't have enough money for an editor. You know, like I didn't have the money to shell out $500 a month. I technically still don't. But because I take myself seriously, I rearrange my life. I rearrange my finances. I force myself to be able to financially afford it because I care about it enough. And that's something that you as a self-published author, if you are a self-published author, need to understand, is that there needs to be a line that you cross where you stop making excuses. So please, please get an amazing editor, or try to find an editor. Take your time with it. Editors are, I would say that they're easy to come by, but a good editor isn't easy to come by. So don't give up, nose to the grindstone. Work hard and you'll find yourself an editor. And now we can move on to the importance of a good cover. So you know how when you watch a movie, or when you go to watch a movie, you watch the trailer first? And the trailer is what sells you to go to the theater and watch the movie, because the trailer is like that little snippet, that package that tells you that this is what you're getting into. A good book cover is an amazing trailer for a movie. Your book cover is what gets people to read your book. A book cover needs to hit all of the themes that you want it to. It needs to express exactly what the overall themes are, the genre, the vibe. It's so important to have a cover that articulates exactly what the reader is going to be getting into. And therefore, you shouldn't half-ass it. Pardon my language. But if you're the type of individual who's a self-published author and you just say, no, I'll just look up a non-copyrighted image and, who cares about the pixels? Who cares about the quality? I'll just use this as my book cover and that'll be good enough. That's a huge red flag if you're trying to be professional and that's your thought process. I spent $250 per each of my book covers, and I hand drew them myself, and then I sat on them for a few months and then revamped them and reworked them, and then paid for through 99 Designs, which is an amazing site, by the way. I will put a link for that in the description below if you're looking for a cover designer. But I went through 99 Designs and I found my amazing cover editor, Antonio Caesar. He's a great person, amazing to work with. I would highly recommend him. We worked together to create a book cover with the proper colors, with the proper, nice text formatting, everything nice, crisp, HD, to show an individual who takes a first glance at my book, so I'm getting into science fiction. This is young adult. It's got a little bit of a cartoonish flair about it. It's going to be lighthearted. Putting time and thought into a good cover is what's going to sell your book. All in all, whether you're doing it for fun or you want to be a professional self-published author, I will still recommend either way, a nice thought out cover and a well-edited book. Because half of the fun of being creative should be polishing up your works. A funny little story here just before we end off. Speaking of this, just polishing up your creative art, your creativeness and your works. My brother AJ and I, we were watching Star Wars behind the scene clips. And we were watching the Foley artists and the people who did all of the sound effects and the ADR for the Star Wars movies. And one of the guys said a very interesting quote that I really am going to hold on to. He said, creativity or a creative project doesn't get released, it escapes. So if you're extremely passionate about what you're doing, the way you'll be able to tell that you are serious about what you're doing is you'll never feel like it's good enough. You'll feel that urge to always be perfect. And your book or your art or your music, you'll never feel like it's good enough. You'll never release it. You'll let it escape. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode. Next episode is episode 5, and we're going to have a special guest. And I'm very excited for you guys to listen to that because we had so much fun recording it, but no spoilers. So thank you all so much for being here. I love you very much. If you're on Spotify, look me up on amazon.ca. If you are listening to this on YouTube, all the links are down in the description below. I love you guys so much. Thank you for your support as always. Stay amazing and have an awesome day. I'll see you next time. Bye.